he has lasted. He looks quite solid now. So it looks like he can make the appointments that he wants to make rather than appointments that he had to make.
Malaysia Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim reshuffling his cabinet 1 year since taking charge, with new ministers appointed to key portfolios including finance, foreign affairs and health. One of the biggest appointments this round is Amir Hamzah Azizan, former CEO of the National Pension Fund, as the second finance minister assisting Mr Anwar. We get to the point with Malaysia Bureau Chief Shannon Teo. So Shannon, Mr Amir Hamzah is a political newcomer, and that's an understatement, I should say, because he was just sworn in as a senator earlier today. So what impact could he have as the second finance minister?
Hi, Ollie. I think, first of all, it's not something that's not been done before. We have appointed professionals, technocrats to the cabinet, even if they are not elected representatives, not members of parliament in that sense. I think the most recent finance minister was Tengku Zafrul. He came in as a senator as well and ran the finance ministry from, I think, 2020 to 2022. So the idea here is obviously that there's been a lot of criticism, I think, in a sense, that Anwar has his plate full, right? He's got too much stuff going on. He is the prime minister. He is also the finance minister. And a lot of his first year is spent on foreign trips, on geopolitics, on diplomacy, trying to perhaps right the ship. Obviously, the Israel-Hamas issue has also taken up a lot of his bandwidth with overseas diplomacy. So the sense has been, even from a year ago, that maybe he needs a helping hand at the finance ministry. So Amir comes in to do that job, right, as finance minister too, to kind of look at things, sign off on things which maybe operationally don't need the prime minister to get involved. I think the idea is that he will do what is best in the interest of the nation's economy and also the country's finances. That is the hope. Now, of course, he's got a good reputation running the country's pension fund, and I think Malaysians hope that he will bring the same expertise, the same professionalism into the finance ministry.
Well, we are seeing a few familiar faces coming back, like Zulkifli Ahmad, who's returning to the health ministry. Now, he was the health minister from May 2018 to February 2020 during the COVID-19 pandemic, of course. But what do you make of the comeback of this rather popular politician?
I mean, Dr. Zul is not everyone calls him Dr. Zul, right? Dr. Zul is not the only one coming back in. Gobind Singh, who is from the DAP, is the deputy chairman, I believe. And even Johari Ghani is UMNO vice president. He used to be a second finance minister himself. So some of these, how you might say, experienced guys are coming back in. I mean, it might be a sign that Anwar feels some of the new appointees, some of the debutants aren't, as proficient yet. They're still picking up, learning on the job. So he wants to maybe bring in back a few of the, I wouldn't say older faces, but experienced faces. Some of them, as you pointed out, Dr. Zul, Gobind, very popular among Pakatan Harapan supporters. It might be also to assuage some of their angst, as it were. They've been kind of unhappy with the Anwar's government. Of course, it's not a Pakatan Harapan government, it's a unity government. So he's been having to make some concessions, but moves like this kind of probably appease the Pakatan Harapan grassroots, right? And it's been a year. There's a lot of talk of political instability. Will Anwar even last the year? That was kind of conversation going on. He has lasted. He looks quite solid now. So it looks like he can make the appointments that he wants to make rather than appointments that he had to make.
I see. So, Shannon, which of the key moves do you think would make a difference to, this Anwar administration, which has been criticized for not delivering on what they promised?
Well, I think on things like liberal reforms, on democratic reforms, none of these changes actually kind of affect that. If you're being optimistic, you might say that this frees up a bit of the Prime Minister's own headspace to start thinking about reforms rather than just relying on Azalina, who is the de facto law minister and the minister in charge of institutional reforms. So it gives him maybe a bit more space to start thinking about what he needs to do over these next 4 years. In fact, as soon as possible, people are crying out for these democratic reforms, right? On economic reforms, I think that's where we might see a bit more changes. He has got a dedicated finance minister now, whose job it is to look at the government finances to see if he can create a bit more fiscal space to roll out the reforms that are needed. He's got some experienced guys. Johari Ghani, we mentioned, is coming back in, but now as commodities minister. Commodities is an area that is very volatile. There might be need for some structural changes there. People are handling very big portfolios with very big budgets. These kind of things can really shift the economy, because in Malaysia, a lot of the economy is kind of centralized, right? A lot of government projects, a lot of government acquisitions, things like that. And the government has been talking about going high tech, going into digital economies, things like that. That might also be a reason why the communications and digital ministry is now communications and digital are two different ministries. So it appears to be a bit more focused on the digital economy.